Hey, welcome back to another exciting episode of Five Lakes Garage. Why am I so excited? It's because we're going to go work on the 1980 CJ5 Jeep. I also like to call it the pumpkin. It is orange, it is black, it looks like a jack-o'-lantern, but I love it anyway. It took us 13 years to build it the way that we did, but well worth it, totally love it, and I love wheeling this thing. Now, one thing that'll make it better is if we actually put lockers in, and that's actually what we're going to do today. I went out about 8 months ago and picked up some Auburn lockers. Now, these are E lockers. A lot of people say that these aren't true lockers only because it has clutches and everything like that inside, and that when you hit the switch, electrical current goes through this and it actually locks it up. Now, I don't really care. It's going to do the job. Now, this thing doesn't weigh much. I don't have a lot of power going through it. I don't think I'm going to be breaking anything. I think the 258 shoots about 94 horsepower. Woo! That's going to be smoking. Anyway, so what we're actually going to do is actually the rear end of this thing today. So this will be an AMC20. Now, a lot of people don't really like those either. They do have some limitations. But in this particular case, like I said, 94 horsepower, don't think we're going to break it. We're not going to get into anything that crazy. And if we do break it, hey, I got some axles over there that came out of a Suburban. That should be strong enough. We'll throw those under there. But anyway, I got a whole table full of tools. I have a whole table full of parts. The axle's already out. I'm already dirty. Look at this. See, already dirty. Ready to get rocking for you guys and for myself because, you know, I like lockers. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into this. Enough talking. I'm tired of it. I want this thing back on the road as quick as possible because the trails are about to open. So let's tear this thing apart and see what we got inside and see how well I did last time I did a gear set. Probably should have put the locker in that time. But anyway, let's get set up and drain some oil and see what we got and get ready to stank because it's gear oil and it stinks. All right, so today is a new day, new clothes, and yes, it's dark out there because, hey, I got a day job. But hey, started looking over a lot of the paperwork, and a couple of things that we need to check before we really go too far is to make sure that the locker that they sent you and the one that you ordered is the correct one. One of them be your spline count, which will go inside here. So what you need to do is to take this and stick it over your axle shafts before you put anything on there. If you put any bearings on here, your warranty's void. You can't send it back. So I've already set these on top of the axles and they do fit. So I did do that right. All right, so they do fit. Now, the couple other things I did realize, it was actually in the paperwork. I did not see it on the website, but hey, just know when you get to the Auburn locker and you have one-piece axle shafts on an AMC20, your axle shafts might not be long enough to engage your locker. What we're gonna have to do now is I'm gonna put this in. I'll go ahead and put my bearings on there and avoid the warranty. It's one of the warranty, but the return policy. Excuse me, I'm gonna put it in. I'm gonna put my axle shafts in and I'm gonna put grease on it. When I put the grease in there, I'm gonna show you how much tooth engagement I'm gonna have on these lockers. So what we're gonna do now is actually take the ring gear off of this and then we're gonna put it onto that. Also clean it off and get some Loctite for your bolts. Now your kit should come up with new bolts. Don't use the same bolts because they've probably been stretched. Use some new ones. So anyway, and also if it doesn't quite fit, you might have to heat it up. You can throw it in some really hot water. You can throw it in an oven. Just don't go over 300 degrees, according to the book. And then it should be able to slide right on. So let's go ahead and do that. And then we can keep going because I got a feeling this video is going to take a long time. Where's my tripod? All right, got all the bolts off. The ring gear is ready to come off, but it's been up there for a really long time and she seems to be a little stuck. So what you want to do is actually, you can grab yourself a rubber mallet. So just go ahead and grab your mallet, give it a few whacks. All right, I was able to get the ring gear off. It wasn't that big of a deal, just had to hit it with a mallet a few times. But anyway, so I just grabbed myself a little flat file. All right, we should be in good shape. So now I'm gonna grab some brake clean and a rag to be able to clean both surfaces and make sure that we are good. All right, so everything is clean. I'm ready to put the thing back on. Also, don't forget your Loctite. I like to use the red stuff because it's the strongest. It looks like there might be some Loctite down here in the case, but I'm going to leave that for later and use the stuff that I have. So, what I'm about to do now is actually go inside. I think the wife is out going to pick up some of the kids from dance. So I'm going to throw this in the oven for a few minutes and heat it up so that I can put it on top of this and it should slide right on. You don't want to force it. When we do that, you need to get the bolts started. Don't cinch it down with the bolts. Make sure it's warm enough to actually slip over there. Nice. All right. Be right back because I got to do it before my wife gets home. All right. Well, the ring gear is on. Sorry, I did not film it because this thing was hot. I kind of left it in the oven a little bit long, but look, it just popped right in. So what I used was actually some drill bits and stuck them into the hole. So when I lined it up, it went down there and I should be able to get the bolts right into the holes. I hope, because getting that thing off will be a pain in the butt. Also, don't forget your gloves. Gotta use them. All right, so we're getting ready to go and cinch this guy down. So what you need is your Loctite. All right, so all you really need is a line down all the threads. All right, so I looked it up and got a couple different things, but what I'm going to do here is actually do it in 3 different phases. I'm going to go crisscross all the way around. I'm going to start off at 40 foot-pounds. Then I'm going to go up to 80 foot-pounds. And then the final one's about 105 foot-pounds on all of these bolts. Now I have it in the vise. Now I don't have it. Why do I keep grabbing that? It's hot. Just don't pinch it so much that it's going to hurt your gear. All right, ring gear is torqued down to 105 foot-pounds. It has been done in 3 different increments, and they've been done out in the star pattern. Now the next step would be actually to take our bearing and actually press it onto the side. Now you could use a press. Got one over here, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to sit this down right there, and I'm going to grab this little guy, and I'm going to grab my glove. And what I'm going to do is actually heat the bearing up so that it will slide right on here without having to use the press. Take a look. It's the greatest thing ever. Actually, before I get started, I'm doing it on a metal table, so this is my welding table. It's kind of dirty right now, but you're going to put the flame on the inside. Don't put it on the outside, put it on the inside. This inside race is the only thing you want to stretch. Well, swell, grow, whatever. All right, so I got the carrier in, as you can see. Oh, it doesn't look beautiful. Yes, it does. It looks awesome. So what we're actually going to do now is actually put a bunch of grease out here on the shaft of my axle. And then I'm going to stick it in and kind of see where the grease stops. And I'm going to pull it out and see how much tooth engagement we have. Hopefully we're in good shape. If not, yeah, like I said, this is going to be a really long process. Well, that's a good sign. That moves. Okay. So it goes all the way down to here. So that's pretty much right where we were before. So we are good on this side. But, of course, there's 2 sides. I'm going to try the other side just to make sure that that one is good to go as well. All right. Looks like we're in good shape. Whew. Man, I was sweating that one. This thing's a couple $100, and I didn't want to have to put that into an AMC20. After I just spent all this much on a locker. Okay, so the next step is actually get that thing back out. We need to set the pinion in there so we can actually check for teeth patterns. Are we forward? Are we back? Do we need to shim it? Do we not need to shim it? Do we need to put it on the inside of the race? I don't know. We're going to find out. So next time you see this, we're going to have it torn apart and go ahead and put the pinion in. All right, it's a brand new day. Had to wait on a few parts here and there, so I pretty much set everything up. I came in here late one night. I got all my clearances where I needed to be. I'm getting ready to show you how I got there. I figured you didn't want to watch me go in, out, pull it out. Yeah, didn't want to do all that crap. So where did I get my measurements? Basically, I went to differentials.com. Give them a little shout out because it was very helpful and is very, very nice actually. So the backlash that we're going to need is anywhere from 6 to 10 thousandths. I am roughly at 8 thousandths right now, so beautiful. The Bearing cap torque is about 65 pounds, and that would be on both sides. And it looks like my pinion bearing preload, new, because I'm getting ready to put a new bearing in it, and it is 19 inch pounds. Like I said before, you need your inch pound torque wrench. So anyway, so let's get this guy torn all apart, because I do need to drill a hole. All right, so this is how I have everything all set up. What I did was actually take some of my paste that came with the kit, which is this stuff right here, and I tried to be an artist and went ahead and painted some of the teeth. And what I did, if you actually look here, so I look at some of these guys right here, and it is pretty much right in the middle. It didn't start that way. Actually, it wasn't even close, actually. I tried to set it up exactly how I set it up last time. Apparently I was a chump last time, but I never did it before then. I did a couple of them now, so feeling a little more comfortable about it right now. Well, let me just take it apart and just show you how to do it. But now I need to drill the hole in the case. You can either do the cut or the cover, or you can do the case. I'm gonna do the case, mostly because I can actually take the cover completely off, inspect it or whatever. I don't have to sit there and pull it off and push it over to the side or whatever. I'm just gonna do the case. It's because I can. Anyway, a couple things you're actually gonna need would be, all right, so you're gonna need to get a 1/4 inch pipe thread tap. Now I did just pick these up. That was one of the things I was waiting on. And this is industrial grade. I've already did it on a test piece and it worked great. But I'm gonna show you a couple tips on actually using these things. You don't just sit there and go in there and ramrod it in. Don't want to do that, because then you destroy your tap and then you're out of the tap. So anyway, where are we gonna drill this hole? Let me get a marker and we're gonna show you. All right, so this will be the top of the case. You want to have it up towards the top. You don't want to have it below where all the oil is going to be. Now the oil is going to be slinging around here, and it actually will go up there, but it's not gonna. It should not go out, because it does have a rubber fitting on there. Now if you had it on the bottom, it'll have all the weight of the fluid and it will seep out. Don't want that. We're going to have it up to the top. And not only that, once you actually put your little guard in, the wires are up to the top anyway. Now we want to keep it away from any kind of structures, so what we're going to do is actually pop it right there. So I got my mark where I'm going to drill. I'm going to dismantle everything, because you don't want those metal shavings in any of these gears, anything in your locker, anything in the other gears, or anything like that. Try to keep as many shavings out of it as possible. Clean everything once you actually get done. So let's take it apart. All right, so that's basically where I want to drill it. So I'm gonna take my little punch, get a hammer, start it off. All right, so I'm gonna drill my hole right there. Now, a couple things you really want to have is some sort of lubricant. I'm just gonna use the spray on oil to be able to keep your drill bit dry. That is cast iron. It should go in pretty easily, but we want to make sure. All right, so I do have it tilted up a little bit, so hopefully the shavings, as I go through, will actually fall out instead of falling into the actual pinion itself, so that hopefully the cleaning will be a little bit easier. All right, let's get drilling. Now, one thing I do, I keep forgetting things. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and step it. So I got 3 different bits. This will be my final. So I'll make a small one, a bigger one, and then the final one will be this big. So put it on low so you don't burn it up, and get going. All right, I got my hole drilled. It's nice and pretty. Got most of my shavings out that I could. Now I'm gonna take my tap. I did put some grease on there for a couple reasons. One, to keep it lubricated. As it cuts, it won't destroy your tap. Also, I'm trying to catch as many shavings as possible, because I don't want it to clean up. Cleanup sucks. So we're gonna start it by hand. All right, now here's a couple tips about when you're tapping. Now I'm gonna go give it a turn, then I'm gonna back it off. And then I'm gonna go and do some more turns and then back it off. So don't ramrod it in there, or else you kind of screw up your threads. All right, it's all tapped out. Kind of cleaned it up a little bit, and she fits in beautifully. Take, I believe it's a 15 millimeter, and we'll cinch it down. There's a rubber gasket under here, so you don't want to push it down too hard, or else it just gets destroyed, and then you leak. So anyway, but I'm gonna take this out for right now, because I need to clean the whole entire thing. before I get it cleaned, let's go over how I got it to this point. So what I did originally was take all my shims that I had behind my pinion, which this is my pinion and that is my race. Now I popped the race out, and what I did was put it on the belt sander and made this smaller. And the reason why I did that is so that I can slide it in and out many times without having to repress it or repack it or whatever, in order to check out my shim pack to make sure that we were correct. Now on this particular one, all right, all cases are going to be slightly different because of the casting and all that type of stuff. So get yourself a little measuring tool here. It's a caliper. So anyway, I put it in thousandths. So, and I ended up with about 12 thousandths of shims. Oh, let me check it again. There you go. Maybe 11 thousandths of shims. Now that, when I did that, I'll put it down here in the bottom. Stick my race that I sanded down. Put that on top. Stick my pinion back in. Stick my bearing for the yoke. And then you got to put your yoke back on. You want to stick your bolt. Or your nut rather. Now once I actually get all that in there, I'm going to take my air gun, because I'm lazy, and I'm going to ram this guy in. Now I'm going to go back and forth with it, and that actually feels pretty good. So then you roll it back over. Now you need to put your carrier in. Now so let's do that. There we go. Alright, so now it's in. Alright, once everything is in there, you want to keep your same bearing caps where on either side where they were when they took off. So I put a little mark here and I put a mark right here on the case. So I know that this one came off of this side. And you definitely want to keep that. There's an arrow to get pointed up. Cinch in your little locker. Alright, once everything is in, we're going to rotate this guy. Alright, I've already put some up there, but let's do it again. Why not? Do it for your pleasure, because you can watch me be like a happy tree man. So I'm going to paint. Now you want to get on both sides of the teeth. Get that really nice up in there. All right. Now you're going to put your hand right here because you want to put a little bit of pressure on it, and then spin the yoke. So if you look right here, it's kind of sort of right in the middle, middle. When I first started, it was way up here. Not cool. So I had to take some shims out in order to drop it down to be able to get it a little bit more into the middle. So just make sure that your pattern's kind of in the middle. Play with those shims, put more in, take more out. Whatever you got to do in order to get that good mesh. Now once you get the mesh, then you can work on your backlash. And what you do there, you got a stack of shims here and a stack of shims here. In order to figure out where you're going to start from. All right, so in order to figure out where you want to start from, you can either measure before you take it apart and try to match it up as best you can. That would be a good starting point. Or you can take all your shims, push everything over, stick it down into, stick as many shims as you can on one side, and then measure them. Divide that by 2, put it half and half just to see where it's at. You already have a good mesh, so your pinion is up and down just at the right height. All you have to do is go back and forth. Now, in order to check that, you stick your shim here and you stick your shims here, and then you take your measurement. But first, you got to put everything back in. Now, on this particular one, I did have some clearance issues. The carrier on this side has some raised lettering and all that type of stuff, and it was rubbing against here. So I took I took the belt sander and just kind of ground that down a little bit, just to have clearance. I also had to grind down the actual case itself underneath in order to get this guy to be able to spin. Now you kind of want to have at least a few thousandths of clearance. This thing will swell and shrink with heat, so make sure you have enough clearance. Now notice I didn't torque anything down. I just hit it with the screwdriver. Bam, bam. Okay, now we're good. So now you want to take your, in this case, a digital. All right, now this is very sensitive equipment. So basically what you want to do is actually put it right there on the tip of the tooth, lock it down. All right, zero it out. So now I'm at 0. And what you want to do is hold on to the yokes and make sure it doesn't turn, and then rock your ring back and forth. All right, well, it's at -1. -1 thousandths. All right, so we're going to rock it. So we are -2 to 5. So that's right around 7. That is pretty much where we want to be. According to the website, we need anywhere from 6 to 10 thousandths. Then yeah, we should be good. Now, if you had too much clearance, let's say you're at 20 thousandths, you would take shims out of this side and put it on this side. So basically you're pulling the carrier, the ring gear closer to the pinion. That will close that gap and make it a little bit tighter. If you were too tight, I actually had it to where I couldn't even spin the yoke. I went the other way and pushed it there. That's why I have my clearance issues. Right here, it is perfect. So what I'm going to do right now is actually write down the thickness of all my shims and then clean it all up. I know I keep saying I'm going to clean it, but hey, now's the time. Now we're going to clean it. Oh my gosh. All right, it's been all clean. Make sure you get all the tubes. Make sure that's all cleaned out. You don't want any trash in this because you just rebuilt it. So the next step would be to actually put all your bearings and all your races in. Now, in your kit, you should have a rebuild kit. Now, this is going to be the race that's going to go right inside. Make sure you put your shims behind this race. Knock out the other ones. All you do is grab yourself a punch and a hammer, knock them out. Because you don't need them. You can throw them away. But I would actually keep them for next time you rebuild one of these, you have a spare. All right, that was a big pain in the butt. Finally got my bearing off and actually got the new one on. I didn't even have to press it. If you caught the beginning of the video, I used the heat from the torch and actually heated it up. Well, I just did it a lot longer on this one. Fell right on. It was beautiful. Had it on camera. At least I thought I did. Yeah, I screwed that up too. Anyway, getting the old bearing off was a pain in the butt. I actually had to hit it with the grinder to actually cut it and actually pop it off so that I can put this guy on. Now, the biggest thing that we have to do now is gotta put my race in. All right, so we have our race in, we have our shims. Now these shims are pretty much everything I measured off earlier, so we should be in 100% good shape. So we have our new one and we have our old one. Don't get them mixed up. So my problem though is that my punch here is too small and you don't want to go on the inside. So I took my old race, I'm gonna flip it upside down and then I'm gonna put my puck right on top. All right, that's why you don't throw anything away. There you go. All right, you should be able to hear that noise, which means she is all the way in. Should make sure your shims do not move. Now, we need the race on the other side. There you go, nice and solid. All right, she is ready to rock. Let's put the pinion in. All right, now we're ready to put everything in there. Now, do not forget your crush sleeve. That goes on to your shaft. And now this bearing is gonna push against that crush sleeve and do what it says, crush it. So that's gonna put a preload on these bearings. Excuse me, on these bearings here. So let's put that guy in there. Right, let's go ahead and put our seal on. And then I'm gonna put a little bit of grease on that. There we go. Oh, she's looking good. I'm so close. Put your new nut on. Now this is where it gets fun. Real fun. All right, one thing we have to do is actually crush that crush sleeve. Now that impact gun is pretty strong. Not near strong enough. So we're gonna have a rather large breaker bar. Sometimes you actually will see people with pipes coming off this thing to try to give a little more leverage. Now you have to hold the yoke, and so what I did was actually grab some C-channel and I grabbed the plasma cutter and just cut out a hole. Now this actually fits directly over the yoke, so it kind of works out great. So what we're going to do is stick this over the yoke so it does not rotate. Then I'm going to stand on it. So just do a couple of turns all the way around to set those bearings into the races. All right, so steady strain. So as you can see, it's right at the 20 mark. So we're good. Bam, crush sleeve crushed. Now we're ready to put the rest of it in and make sure my measurements are still right. Let's go. All right, so we're almost done. We got the carrier in there, but there is one thing we need to do before we actually put the caps on. That is to actually set the preload on the cap bearings, end bearings, whatever in the hell they are. Anyway, so the kit should have given you a big, huge sleeve of shims. What you do is grab your caliper and find 2 of them that are about a thou. See? All right, here's a tech tip. Don't go eat dinner that your daughter made that was so good you had seconds, and then come out here and try to heave on this thing, because now your belly hurts. Anyway, there's a little tech tip. Anyway, so this is what we got right now. All right, so if you follow any of the other videos, you probably saw the one I made this right here. This is just, it used to be a C channel. Same thing I made the yoke holder thing with. Anyway, I just ripped it down. I drilled some holes. I went ahead and welded some pipe on either side, and I put some all thread in. And what this is going to do is actually spread the case apart. And what we want to do, because right now you can't get those in there. They're pretty tight. And what we're going to do is put 1,000 here and 1,000 here, which will actually set the preload on these end bearings. So when you spread this, you're not spreading it that far. So this should be okay. You can go ahead and you put a little bit here, a little bit there. You want to spread it evenly. Have these guys ready. We're going to slide in and then pull it together and then put our caps on. So let's start spreading. All right, both sides are in. I got an extra thou here and an extra thou there. It looks like I need to make my tool a little bit stronger. She's starting to bow. But I was able to get that in there. Also, when you're trying to drive those in, if you actually pull them out and do the whole stack at the same time, use like a brass punch. Don't use anything steel because I could ding it up. You don't want to do that. So anyway, let's get this guy off and then put our caps on, and then we'll be ready to go to at least check our measurements. Let's make sure we didn't screw anything up. Make sure you put some Loctite on it. All right, still not done because we got to torque them down to 65 foot-pounds. Let's torque it. There we go. Let's route our wires through our hole that we made earlier. It's all threaded and looking beautiful. All right, it's time to put your wires in, or fix your grommet to actually protect your wires. And it's going to provide you with one of these little guys. It's going to have this little black thing in there that says, they say take it out to be replaced. Rubber grommet. It's got 2 holes in it. That's where your wires are going to go through. We're going to put this guy in first, put your wires through, and then you're going to see, screw it right in. All right. Now it does have that rubber grommet around it, so be careful with that. Don't over tighten it, or else you're going to be replacing your grommet or your O-ring. Before you put this thing together, you need to put your little wires through the little rubber thingy, like a rubber gasket. Stick that in the hole. Now comes with your little plastic sleeve. So you want to put the rubber isolator inside the plastic. You're going to put your barrel on, or your dome, and then slide it all the way down and screw it on. It's as simple as that. There you go. Now we're ready to go. All right, ran into a small issue. They didn't send a gasket in the kit. Kind of figured they would. But it's okay. We have some ultra gray that will actually do the trick. So we're going to put a little bit on this side, a little bit on this side, squish it together, and hopefully don't get too much. One thing when you're actually putting this stuff on, try not to get it into the screw holes because there are 4 of them that are blocked at the bottom. If you put too much in there, you could actually crack the case. You don't want to do that. All right, so once this stuff gets tacky, we put it down and hopefully it should not leak. Now with this particular stuff right here, I'm going to get the book just so I can tell you exactly what it is. All right, so once we actually get the cover on and we fill this up with oil, what you need to do is actually, they're going to give you some additive. You need to have this in there for this thing to work properly. Now it's 3 ounces per quart. They give you 6 full ounces that you put in here. Now, also when you put in there, it's just 80 W90. It's nothing special, except it has to be non-synthetic. So grab the organic stuff or whatever the stuff that comes out of the ground. Grab that, put that in there, and add your additive. All right. Let's put this guy on. So with this RTV stuff in there, just cinch it down, barely even snug, and we'll let it set. And then torque it down, probably like 12 foot-pounds. All right, so that's how you actually put an Auburn locker inside of an AMC20. Now, I still need to put the axle shafts back in there, but I did see a problem with one of the outside bearings. I ordered those should be in. Stay tuned, we're gonna go over the wiring of this guy. There's, you gotta put a Deutsch plug on the end of this. We're gonna run some wires up to the front. It does come with a switch that I probably won't use. The switch actually comes, pretty much gives you everything that you're gonna need to actually get this guy running. Now here's your switch, you know, everything you need. You got an inline fuse, you got wire, you got pretty much everything you're gonna need. But I'm not gonna use a lot of that. I want to put it over on the shelf and so I can use it as another project, because I have a whole line of switches that are in the center console that I'm gonna use for these guys. But check out the other episode than when I built this. Might have to restructure it before I actually do the front. But the front is a whole lot smaller, so it shouldn't have that big of a problem. But I do have a locker for the front. So we're gonna be locked up front and back. I can't wait. Oh my gosh, I can't wait, I can't wait, can't wait. Anyway, I'm gonna let this stuff set up, and I'm gonna torque all these down, and this guy will be ready to go once I put the axles in, and then put it underneath the Jeep, fill it with oil. Yeah, I'm excited. You excited? We're all excited. Yeah, just don't worry about it. It will be all right. Just go ahead and try it. If you mess it up too bad, take it to somebody who knows what they're doing. Anyway, stay tuned, enjoy, and we will catch you guys later. It's like a lockers.